Sharon, welcome to our member interview. It's lovely to see you and thanks for your time. I'm looking forward to sharing with you and the rest of our viewers your use of TA and your journey.
Thanks.
I'm very interested. How did you get started and come to learn about TA?
In 2012, I started my coaching journey. I started studying with Strong Foundation Academy, and it was there that I was actually exposed to transactional analysis. And during that space in my life, I was going through quite a transformational change in my own world. I think my certification here, much like the others alongside of me in that classroom, it was really a personal journey. And I just realized I wanted to know more about TA so that I could utilize it in my own space. Yeah.
Amazing how TA and transactional stuff kind of leads to transformational experiences as well.
For sure. No, it's absolutely incredible models. And I think the things that bring it together for me, because of the line of work that I'm in, is the theory of personality, communication, and also the life patterns, because you're looking at it from so many different angles. And I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about how that fits into my work.
Yeah. So was the TA part of your initial coach training as well, or how did you really get into exploring the models in depth?
No, not at all. We obviously unpacked a couple of models through that process. And I think my first real connection with TA was with Karen Pratt when I did my TA 101 in 2016. And it was a 2-day course, and it really just blew my mind in terms of what it produced. Yeah, just really getting into grips with the actual model itself and how to start unpacking it better. I think that was really, understanding the models and understanding the applications of them and where I could be using them more was quite profound, yeah.
What is different about transactional analysis in relation to other theories and models that you've seen so far?
I think the variety of applications, and for me the overlap. There's so many models. You take the okay communication and you sort of overlap it. It broadens conversation. The one that's coming to mind now is particularly working with couples and looking, starting from their core people that are close to them, and then starting to wind that out in terms of colleagues, friends, and so on, and actually seeing where it is that of their life positions. And I think just realizing that there's certain growth aspects that come from each or in fact the 3 quadrants, other than that I'm okay and you're okay. So yeah, there was just an enormous amount of overlay and depth to it. And for me it touched on there's I think if I think about the communication side of things, the functional fluency model is something that stands out hugely for me. For me, there's also been incredible conversation that comes from that in terms of where you come from, where's the learned behavior, the feeling aspects that come through, and how best to start becoming aware of those and handling those in your various. It's there's a wealth that can be unpacked from the TA side of things.
So I'm interested in how you actually use the TA with your clients. Is it about teaching them the TA models, or is it something else, like maybe using the TA as a language or a foundation to explore themselves?
That's a really good question. My organization is called the Who Am I Foundation, and we're passionate about people finding themselves, knowing who they are, and then living, loving, and leading from that place. And it's got everything to do with authentic leadership. So we do a lot of leadership development. And the type of people that we work with are individuals, because that's where the deep work starts, is knowing yourself, so that you can understand others better. And then, of course, couples. I do an enormous amount of couples work, teams, and then organizations. And a lot of the work that we do in organizations is culture work and building trust realms. So it has everything to do with relationships. Communication is a big one that we deal with. And I find that the TA stuff just feeds into that so beautifully. And obviously it comes up in one-on-one coaching. And one of my big passions is emotional intelligence. And that comes through with all of our training, our workshops. It doesn't really matter what we're dealing with. Those are the layers that we're working with, because we're looking at it from the inside out. So it's inside out leadership. And the TA fits in beautifully. There's actually a section in my workshop that I actually go into a TA space. And it's almost like we revisit some of the things we've discussed, but then we look at them through the TA lens, if I could put it that way. And it just brings a different dimension to the conversation, which is so beautiful. And it's an easy language. People understand models really well, and of course make it their own when they can understand their own story through it. So it's almost using it like a bit of a backdrop on their own narrative, which is quite profound. And yeah, the type of models that I use there quite a lot is the functional fluency, the KOK life position model. Obviously looking at the values. I love the values that TA base their theory on. Everyone can choose to change, and I think that's the basis of the work that we do. It is taking people on a transformational journey. So for me, it just aligns so stunningly with the work that we do. So that's how we utilize it. I'm not sure if I answered your question correctly. There's probably a lot more I can share, but that's generally how we weave it through.
Lovely work. So TA can be, quite theoretical and quite heady, and I'm wondering how you use it. Is it more focused on the theory side, or when your clients are really kind of having those aha moments? What's going on there in terms of the use of the models?
I'm so pleased you actually asked that question, because the theoretical side of it, when I get a white paper in front of me, I tend to shut down myself, because I'm not a hugely tertiary sort of educated individual in terms of unpacking white papers. So for me, the practical aspect of unpacking that theory is where the magic really happens. And I guess that's what we do in that workshop training space, is to really take the models. Yes, of course, there's that unpacking of the theoretical side of it, looking at it in terms of, what this can mean for us, how do we make it real for us, and then placing their life stories into it, and bringing it to life. And for me, that's where it all happens for them.
Wonderful, thank you. How does the use of TA with individuals compare to how you use it with groups of people? Are there any differences that you notice in your work there?
Not really. The conversations I have with individuals, couples, corporates, or individual teams are all around the same models. We perhaps unpack them slightly differently in terms of looking at the group think, or how does this affect us as a team. So then just it becomes a corporate conversation. And that's what's so beautiful, is that you're not unpacking a whole lot of models in different settings. For me, I use the same process, whether I'm taking an individual through it or whether I'm taking a corporate team through it. So no, it's just the conversation that shifts.
Wow. So as effective with private individuals or individuals in corporates and groups within corporates as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, you know, that's something that's probably stood out so profoundly, even in my own life. You know, even if you're doing a TA 101 or a TA 202, or which I'm busy with at the moment, is my foundational year in TA, where I'm wanting to ground a lot more of the understanding of TA for myself. It's really being able to take those models and make them practical. And it starts with you. If I can't make that model practical for myself, if I haven't found my own story around it, it's very difficult to unpack it for others. So for me, that's where one steps away from the theoretical side of it and share, you know, how it can come to life. You know, even when I'm explaining or sharing the drama triangle, I bring a lot of my own story into it. And it's amazing how people connect with it when it's not just a piece of a model on a piece of paper, where you've actually got a life attached to it and how that plays out for you and the effects of it, and you know, how one can step away from it and how the chaos disappears with that, and how beautiful people connect with it when it's real. And I think that is shifts start happening. Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you're comfortable with sharing what's the most powerful transactional analysis model that's had an impact on your personal life?
Probably the drama triangle. I'm a typical rescuer, and I will always love and care for others, but I do it quite differently. I don't do it from a place of neediness anymore. I don't need to be the hero of the day, and I certainly don't need to do all the work. So a lot of those things have allowed me to step into a place of authenticity. I know who I am, and you know, I've learned that knowing who you are needs a whole lot of boundaries to say where I start and where you stop, and so on. So for me, that is probably the most profound model. For me, the drama triangle was a real place of unlocking. And I often say to clients, if you get this, you get a whole lot of freedom, just in terms of your everyday decision making, and how you choose to say yes and no to people. Yeah,
I think you're not alone there. Kaufman's drama triangle is very powerful for me in my own life as well, and for my clients, as I'm sure yours.
Yes, no, absolutely.
What are your hopes for transactional analysis in the South African environment?
You know, Alex, that's a really good question, because at the moment it's a component of a big scope of work that I'm doing. But as I'm in my foundational year, I'm realizing that there's actually a lot more that I could be using. And I'm not quite sure what that forum looks like, because it's currently fitting into the programs that I have. But I think that I'm formalizing things a lot more in terms of, you know, what that program looks like. Also, you know, developing them specifically for leaders or for relationships, for individual growth. And I think that TA definitely has a place in each one of those spaces. And I think, you know, I can't think it would look too different to how I'm currently unpacking it, but it might have a lot more of a deeper understanding for myself in terms of where I'd like to take it. And I think that's probably what the foundational year is going to do for me. I'm learning enormous amount about scripts. You know, I've known a lot of the basics about transaction analysis, but I think that this foundational year is what's actually making a difference in terms of taking each one of them deeper. You know, it's almost like I've just scratched the surface of TA. And when I listen to people that have been in the TA world for a long, long time, that have actually utilized it in a very proficient way, I realize that there's still a whole lot more. And I guess that will just depend on, you know, how deep I choose to take myself with it so that I can take others there, because I really believe that we have to do the hard work ourselves. Very hard to take someone to a place that you've never been yourself before. So yeah, I tend to really take the models very personally, and I unpack them, I pull them apart, I make them real for myself on loads of aspects. I mean, if I just take the Karpman's drama triangle, it's not just about one relationship, because that's shifting on so many levels, with different personality styles, different situations, whether it's relationships or whether it's more authority-driven individuals, or so, for each person, it's got so many different connotations. And for me, that's where the work starts, is with me.
So I'm hearing that you use transactional analysis with your clients, and I'm wondering if you use it in your own supervision as well.
I do. I actually have supervision with Karen Pratt, and we did it with a group of 5 other coaches this year, and that was an incredible space to be, not only learning and seeing other coaches in action and working at a very vulnerable space, and being able to have the models almost through a different lens once again, is so, and Karen does it so eloquently. She's such a beautiful ambassador of transactional analysis, because she knows it so deeply. And I think I'm just amazed at various things that we're talking about in a coaching space, and then she'll say, so how does this relate to FISIS or to contracting, or whatever that might be. And it just once again, always bringing that backdrop for us, which I think has been very, very useful, certainly for me, in terms of understanding the models better.
Wonderful. Sharon, before we wrap up, I'm wondering if you have any words for people who don't know much about TA yet, and what they can get out of it.
So transactional analysis is one of the vehicles a person can use in terms of really understanding themselves at a very deep level. It's probably one of the most profound tools and theories I've ever come across. And I would highly recommend to grab 1 or 2 of the books. Certainly the one that I started with, I mentioned it earlier, is I'm Okay, You're Okay. And I think if one can have that life position, it's a great place to be. So yes, I would highly recommend people getting involved with people that already are walking a journey with others, with TA. Otherwise, a personal journey of getting hold of the books and understanding the theories. The books that we have are actually, they unpack the models very, very well. So even those that don't want to do a coaching or a training or workshops or anything of that sort, it's definitely a theory one wants to align themselves with and understand. I hope that helps.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Sharon
you.
Deal from Who Am I Foundation. It's been wonderful to interview you and hear about the impact that TA has had on your own life and the life of your clients.
Thank you. Thanks, Alex. I appreciate the interview, and it's been lovely to connect with you again. Hope to see you soon.